We'd like to say good afternoon. This particular time, we would like to call the Shreveport City Council meeting to order. Those of you that have cell phones, we ask that you would silence them, or we ask that you would turn them off. We're going to ask that Pastor Joe Argant would come and lead us in prayer. He is the pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church, a strong prayer warrior in the past and in the future and even now. We're going to ask that he would come and pray. We're going to ask that Councilman Butcher would lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, how we bless your name. How we thank you from whom all blessings flow. As we gather today, we come with thanksgiving in our hearts for the manifold blessings that you have so bountifully bestowed upon us. I come into your presence today seeking your face, seeking your guidance, your direction. As the council go through these deliberations, pray that you would guide them, give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Pray even when there is disagreement, they would not become disagreeable. I pray for all of our elected officials. I pray now as we go through this time that we're going through, we need the wisdom that only comes from above. I pray for unity in our community, that we will come together as one and realize that we are really better together. Bless now these efforts. In the name of the only name that matters, the name of your Son, we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would face the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell, it's good to see you today. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilwoman Taylor.
Present.
Councilwoman Fuller. Councilman Nicholson.
Present.
Councilman Butcher.
Here.
Councilman Jackson. Councilman Green.
I'm here.
And Councilman Bowles.
Thank you. Just for the general public, Councilman Jackson is out of the city on some businesses, and he just wanted his constituents to know. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference Monday, March 21st, 2022, and the city council meeting Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022?
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by Councilman Butcher, second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote. And that passes with 2 out of the chamber. Before we move to the next item, from Casey, the city of Shreveport has received 3 bids concerning banking RFPs 22-810, and the following proposals will be evaluated and voted on in no particular order. Casey, would you speak to that?
Yes, we did receive 3 proposals concerning our banking RFP 2022-810, and those 3 that were received were from Regions, Chase, and Capital One. The committee will get together and evaluate those 3 proposals.
Thank you. We just need that to be read into the record. Thank you very much. Does any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Councilman Nichols.
Mr. Chairman, I won't steal Mayor Perkins' thunder, but I do want to recognize Miss Ellie Franks, our student mayor of the day. Miss Franks is a student at St. Joseph's School, which I attended many years ago, and she has had tremendous success in a competition which seeks to recognize the top student in her grade statewide. I understand from her grandfather that tomorrow she will be competing for Student of the Year in the state of Louisiana. So I will say for myself and for the council how proud I am of you, Ms. Franks, and proud for St. Joseph's, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Mayor, for sharing the mayor's seat with Ms. Franks today.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mayor, do you have any awards, recognition, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
I do, Mr. Chairman. As Councilman Nicholson already pointed out, my special guest for today is Miss Ellie Franks, who's here. She is an outstanding student at St. Joseph's. You cannot be considered for a Student of the Year for the state of Louisiana without being that, but she's so much more than just being smart in the classroom. She's the captain of the volleyball team. She has aspirations to not only go to college, but go to law school one day and be the future mayor of Shreveport. So we have a superstar here. So I'm glad to be sharing a seat with Mayor Franks. And at this time, she is going to read the mayoral announcements.
Good afternoon. The City of Shreveport, Louisiana Department of Health, and LSU Health Shreveport are bringing together a group of local healthcare experts to discuss the impact COVID-19 has had on our community. The panelists will share how COVID-19 continues to have an effect on Shreveport's population. The symposium will be held at 6 p.m. Thursday, April 14th at the Independence Stadium's Skybox. Vaccinations and testing will be offered from 5 to 7 p.m. In addition to, registration is underway for the next Love Shreveport citywide cleanup. It will be held on Saturday, April 23rd. To sign up, go to www.shreveportla.gov. And finally, the City of Shreveport is accepting applications for the Future Leaders of Shreveport Summer Internship Program. High school and college students between the ages of 17 and 21 are eligible. Visit www.shreveportla.gov to apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to present Miss Ellie Franks with a certificate of recognition. You mind coming down and taking a picture? And Councilman Nicholson, can we get you as well?
Yeah,
to come
please.
down?
Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, it's of course Ellie's day as being Mayor of Shreveport, but it's also her little sister's birthday today. So let's wish this little sister a happy birthday. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my introductory remarks.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have any other communications related to city business?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does any member have any questions concerning property standards for Mr. Green?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I do have one.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. I got it. Yeah. I have
Hold on, Mr.
Mr.
Green.
Markevian Campbell here as an appointment for our Human Relations Commission. If we want to bring him up to ask any questions, I think y'all confirmed it today.
Are there any questions for Mr. Campbell?
You
It's
can
a
get it. Yeah, you
reappointment?
can get up there.
Anyone have any questions?
I thank you for your willingness to serve. You do an outstanding job with our youth all across this city. And so I'm just proud of you. So thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell, this is a reappointment, right?
Yes.
So just tell us a little bit about your experience and why you want to continue to serve.
So initially, 3 years ago, just within the past 3 years, I've really enjoyed learning about the different things that can occur in housing, in places of employment, in other public spaces that, you know, many of us don't hear about. I've had an opportunity to learn from a lot of people that have been doing this for a really, really long time, and learning just how precious certain things are to people, especially the places where they're employed. I'm excited to continue because I'm actually vice chairman now, and I've had the opportunity to work with Dr. Critcher, hands-on, along with the rest of the board. And so I'm just looking forward to continuing on for the next 3 to 4 years.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm also very thankful that you're willing to continue this work, and I'll say that over the past several years, I've referred several matters to the Human Relations Commission, and it has had quite a lot of success resolving those issues. This is a really good option, short of litigation, to help people resolve disputes they have with employers and other people in the community. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to say, add on to what they said. Thank you. You do a lot of work with. I attended one of your events this past week. Great for the youth. I was pleasantly surprised at what I saw. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr.
There-
Chairman,
Yes, yes,
we
sir.
have a quick presentation from our Fair Share Director, Mr. Leon Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Chief. City Councilman, I just wanted to come out and give a brief report on the Fair Share program. It's a healthy program now. It's in a good space. One of the things that I learned real early about the program is that the businesses, we need to get those businesses ready to do business with the city of Shreveport. It's one thing to want to do business with those businesses, but we need to give the public its value of its dollars. And so one of the things I brought to the mayor was an initiative called Ready Business. That's the first thing I gave him, a Ready Business initiative. And how can we help and grow these small businesses? Some of the things that we can do to get them ready to do business with the city of Shreveport. And I just brought a few of these things, and I asked the mayor, I just wanted to come out and let the public know that I just don't need a job. I need to work. I mean, a pay. I need to work for what my pay. And one of the things we learned real early, a lot of these businesses couldn't get bonded or insurance. They couldn't afford it. And so I went out and I got a private investor to invest money into a plan. We call it the Royal Griggs Enterprise Fund. So now, don't even have a credit check. If you got a contract with the city, you just get with us, we'll do an application, and we'll get you some money so you can get some bonding and some insurance. So that's a barrier moved out the way. Another thing we learned is just running a business. It takes skills to run a business. Everybody jump out the box saying we're gonna run a business, but it doesn't work that way. And so we created an online business institute where they can migrate through these 12-step programs to be better business owners, to be able to handle a business situation when it comes up. So we provide that now to these businesses. Networking, we all know that it's who you know sometimes, not always what you know. And so now we're putting those businesses in environments where they can meet these large corporations and can serve a lot, from a friendship basis, get to know each other. So we have one coming up this Thursday at the Riverview Hall, and you guys are welcome to come see. We got a dynamic speaker, and we're gonna have large and small businesses under one roof, getting to know each other and able to do business with each other. Crime, we hear that all the time. Crime, crime, crime. Crime affects these small businesses, believe it or not. We do not visit these small communities because we're afraid to go in those communities to do business with these businesses. Now, we can't solve it. That's the police department, that's the mayor's job, and the city leader's job to come up with ideas. But I came up with outside the box ideal, and the mayor probably just, he just looked at me, him and the chief. But however, they gave the green light, and we got something called Hoop Don't Shoot. Why Fast Share is sponsoring this event? Because it's affecting these small businesses, they bottom line. And so we're trying to get these small businesses active in solving a lot of their own issues in their own community. So they're going to form teams, they're going to be coaches of the team, They're gonna sponsor a team in their community, and we're gonna build those relationships, you know, that along with the police department, we can start trying to help this crime thing that's going on. So those are some of the things that we're doing in the Fair Share program to deliver good businesses to the city of Shreveport with those contracts they're receiving. That's basically it.
Leon, you want to give them an update on the disparity study and dates of presentations?
Well, the disparity study is in its conclusion. Some of the council members and the mayor received an email from the business consultant. It's going to be held hopefully in July, if I'm not mistaken about the date. They're going to give their report on the conclusion of their study. And that's going to determine we're going to stay race neutral or race conscious, that particular report. So it's a very important report that's coming out and going forward. There's going to have to be some hard decisions made once that report is released.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
All right, Mr. Chairman, that really concludes my
All right.
introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Introductory remarks.
Any questions for Mr. Green at this time?
Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
I just want to thank you for the work that you and Public Works as well as Property Standards did yesterday and today on Wall Street. And I know that you have a few of the properties over there that are slated for demolition.
Yes.
Can you just speak to that?
Yes. Actually, I can. I'm gonna read it. Okay, now. 271 Vine, Max Ford will be picking that up tomorrow. 261 Vine, 205 Vine, and 201 Vine will be in the mayor's office tomorrow morning for his signature before we demolish.
Okay, thank
So,
you. I think that'll make a big difference over there.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Green? Thank you, Mr. Green.
Okay.
Did everyone receive the revenue collection plan and implementation report? Finance? Seeing there are no public hearings, at this particular time, we have a request to add the executive appointment of Jacoby Marshall, Bernie Woods to the Zoning Board of Appeal today. Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor or against these appointments to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the council, you guys will have to suspend the rules to take these up early,
All right.
have a 2/3 vote, and then have a unanimous vote to add them to the agenda.
Right.
May I inquire, Mr. Chairman, is the intention that we're going to vote on these today?
Correct. That is what the MPC has requested, that they be added and voted on today, because their next meeting is prior to the next council meeting. And it's my understanding they have not had a meeting since September of 2021.
Were these on the agenda 2 weeks ago?
No, they were not.
This was discussed yesterday.
I know that it was. I appreciate that. Look, I have no objection to any of the nominees, but we've had some litigation and some troubles having done this in the past, and so I'm just concerned about repeating that mistake. I have no idea if that's going to be a problem, but my inclination, and it was discussed yesterday, and I could have raised this yesterday.
And correct me if I'm wrong, city attorney, but I believe if we add them, if you guys add them during this section, we have public comments about adding it, and then we have our public comment section, and then we take them up under appointments, that alleviates the concerns of past litigation.
Are we confident that we can follow that process appropriately?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So at this particular time, I need a motion that would suspend the rule.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilwoman Taylor, that the rules be suspended at this particular time. All in favor, let's vote.
Motion carries with 7.
Thank you. So at this particular
6,
time.
I'm sorry, 6.
So at this particular time, the rules have been suspended Now, at this particular time, I need a motion that we would add Jacoby Marshall, Bernie Woods to the Zoning Board of Appeal to the,
What? Add to the agenda?
to the agenda, yes.
Just one more time for me. We're good with this, right?
So you'll have to have a motion and a second and have public comments and then vote to add it. And then we will move on to the next section of our agenda and have another set of public
Okay.
comments. And then we will vote on it during the appointment section.
Yes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Fuller,
Did you second? Did you have a second?
moved by Councilwoman
Oh,
Fuller.
second.
Second by Councilwoman Taylor.
And the motion on the floor is to add these two nominees to the agenda.
And now
Yes.
there'll be public comment before we vote.
And now you'll have to have a public comment
Now, at
section
this
regarding
particular
adding
time,
it.
Is there anyone present to speak for or against these two individuals to be added to the agenda today? Seeing there's none, all in favor of these be added to the agenda? Let's vote. If there are no questions, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
So they've been added, and we will have another period in this meeting to discuss whatever public comments that we have. Today, we will hear public comments on agenda items only, and Councilman Bowman will control the time.
Okay. And before I call the first person up, I did forget, well, yeah, I didn't ask for some prayers. There were some prayer requests out for Ashley, our good friend Ashley, who attends most of the, who had been attending most of our meetings. She asked that we pray for her, her family, and especially for her cousin. There was he was in a bad accident and was ended up being shot. So she asked me that twice, and I told her I wouldn't forget, and I didn't want to let that pass. So just wanted to make sure we mentioned that. Sammy Mears.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, apartment M110, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I'm speaking on resolution 948 first. I think this is really a great and wonderful idea, taking the opportunity to recognize and commend the AmeriCorps Senior Southern University at Shreveport, Caddo, Bossier, DeSoto Foster Grandparent Volunteer Program on the date of March 5th, 2022 to AmeriCorps Senior Foster Grandparent Volunteer Day. Just a slight little name change. It will be a great and good idea. It wouldn't put the earth on the critical list, so I think this will be a nice thing to have. Also, 946, congratulating Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated Zeta Iota, or Iola, Zeta Chapter for their 60 years of dedicated service. And 60 years is a very long time. That's really great. And it seems like they have really earned these 60 years. I'm very happy for them. They don't know me and I don't know them, but I still like congratulating people when they earn something. And that needs to be recognized as soon as possible. They have really earned this, and it's really super. And I know it's not on there, but please ask AT&T to restore my phone service as soon as possible. I've been out without a phone last week.
Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to tell Mr. Mears, Sammy, I spoke with Mr. Shine, and he said that if he had an update, he'd run right over here and let us know, but he has not gotten an update yet. But he's on the case, okay?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Roy Burrell. Commissioner Roy Burrell, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Well, I'm normally up there, but I'm down here, and you always get intimidated even when you're down here, Mr. Mayor, so I know how our citizens feel.
So stay in line.
I'm sorry. I'll try. I'm Roy Burrell, 2613 Lakeway Drive. Shreveport, Louisiana 71109. To Mayor Perkins, to our Chairman Green, my former colleague, and my Vice Chairman, who is also my City Councilman, and other council persons. I'm here to speak on Resolution 53 on the development of passenger rail for Shreveport, in which it would connect from Fort Worth through Shreveport to Mississippi, to Atlanta, on to New York. This is something in another life. In 2013, as a state representative, I was able to secure $250,000 to do an economic study to determine whether or not passenger rail would be feasible through our area. And fortunate enough, it showed that it would be feasible, economically feasible. And since that time, almost 10 years ago, we've been continuing to work on it. This could be a game changer for Shreveport, as well as the region, as well as the state. I know our mayor has been working in Washington, D.C. on this project. I don't know whether quietly or not, but I know he's been working, because I still got a few connections up there too, Mr. Mayor. Just a little bit of history on passenger rail through Shreveport. Along the I-20 corridor. Abraham Lincoln established the I-20 passenger rail link, although it wasn't I-20 then, but that passed through there as the southernmost rail route for the U.S., but it never got developed. And here we are in 2022 addressing this issue again. The last time passenger rail came to Shreveport was 1968. And that was really the only transportation for many poor people who did not have cars and stuff during that time. I would like to recognize my partner in crime, Mrs. Christine Anderson, who will be coming up also to address this issue. She and her husband, Judge Richard Anderson, and I have been working on this for some time. She represents the Texas part of passenger rail, and she'll be here, and she's kind of the brain of the group. So she'll be addressing this later on. Again, I appreciate this opportunity and hope that you will support Resolution 53. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment really quickly?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Burrell, I've been in office now a little over 3 years, and I want to thank you. Just know I'm picking up the baton pretty much, and we're running with it together. I'll say that. We're running with it together this time, but your efforts way before I got in the office definitely did not go unnoticed, and I'm grateful for that. And, fortunately, I think we're close to the finish line finally, after all the hard work that you've been putting in. So you already pointed it out. I'll be in D.C. at the end of the month talking with the Department of Transportation. We have Amtrak here tomorrow, actually, for a visit. So we'll keep talking. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
And Miss Christina Anderson, all the way from Marshall, Texas.
Yes, I brought my passport. Mayor Perkins, thank you for the opportunity, and Chairman Green and
Yes,
Vice Chairman Bowman. And I want to shout out to my dear friend and colleague, Commissioner Burrell, but he was State Rep Burrell when we started the efforts back in, for us it was back in 2006. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you in public comment in support of the I-20 corridor long distance passenger rail route between Dallas-Fort Worth and Atlanta through northern Louisiana and of course East Texas as well. We started these efforts before we met Roy. We initiated the efforts when we were the East Texas Corridor Council in 2006, November 2006, and we knew that to be successful, we had to build a multi-state coalition of support, because we know that one congressional district is not as strong as many congressional districts. So we reached to our west, to Dallas-Fort Worth, working with people like Clay Jenkins, Judge Jenkins now, and to our east, to our wonderful friends in northern Louisiana. And the city of Shreveport, the Caddo Parish, has been so supportive from the very beginning. And as the mayor probably knows, what has brought us to the resolution that we're having today, because through these years of building this multi-state coalition, there have been many, many meetings and many things done. But what we've brought us to, when I was in D.C. a couple of weeks ago with Amit Bose, the FRA administrator, it was said that what we have been doing in the past has brought us to where we are right now in what is called a position of readiness, because not only do we have in place this multi-state coalition, a strong and sustained support of judges and mayors and councils of governments. We have councils of government resolutions, MOUs for everything from Fort Worth to Mississippi. And also, the Corridor Council got $738,000 with the help of Kay Bailey Hutchinson, Senator Hutchinson, years ago, and we were able to do a feasibility study and a capacity study that determined, as we were having this multi-state coalition, we wanted to, on a parallel path, determine that it was economically viable, this long-distance train between, that's 815 or 805 miles between Fort Worth and Atlanta. And the capacity study did show that, and the feasibility study did show that. So now, why are we here with this resolution? Because now, as you well know, and you probably know, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, $1.2 trillion for the infrastructure bill, but $16 billion for long-distance trains. So that's a game changer for us in the passenger rail advocacy volunteer business. But the other thing, as you well know, Canadian Pacific is now going to be merging, or is underway with merging with Kansas City Southern. KCS, let me just put it this way, Canadian Pacific is very supportive of passenger rail and entered into agreement with Amtrak in December. So again, we're in this position of readiness to, no one uses the term shovel-ready. I think it's shovel-worthy now, isn't it, Mayor? Shovel-worthy and readiness. I think the FRA chairman told me that. So that we are in this place that we are in a great position to push this thing over the goal line. So it's all the work in the past that has been done, with, and thanks to Commissioner Burrell and all the people we've worked with. We work very closely with Eddie Bernice Johnson. My husband served in the Texas Senate with Eddie Bernice, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, representing Dallas, and we met with Stephen Gardner, the president of Amtrak, in August of last year, and discussed this thing with Canadian Pacific. So it looks like we're all, I'm so glad your relationship with the Secretary of Transportation. We look forward to our meeting tomorrow. But I just wanted to urge your support for this resolution and thank the city of Shreveport and Northern Louisiana for your support all these many years for this very important route that will connect Dallas-Fort Worth and Atlanta to the East Coast. And this is going to be of great benefit not only to all our communities and states, but to our whole southern region and to our nation. So I thank you so much for your support, and thank you, Mayor. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes. Thank you. That concludes our public comments at this particular time. As we move to the next item, we have the following executive appointments to be considered. Madam Clerk, is there any need for us to have public comments on the ones that we added at this time?
You do not have to have additional comments.
Okay, thank you. Would you read the list of the appointments?
Yeah. Would you like to take them all up together?
If we don't have an objection from any council member, we will just take all of them up together.
All right. Jarvis Morgan, Public Works Assistant Director. Leonard Adams, Bureau Chief of Workforce Development. Marcia Nelson, Bureau Chief of Housing Business Development. Marquivia Campbell, Lonnie McCrae, and Felice Williams, the Human Relations Commission. And Jacoby Marshall and Bernie Woods, the Zoning Board, ZBA.
Yes, Ms. Marcia Nelson.
All right. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bowman, second by Councilwoman Fuller. Are there any questions?
I did have a comment I wanted to make real quick.
Okay.
And that was just real brief. I want to congratulate Jarvis Morgan again. I appreciate the hard work that you put in so far. Gary could not have picked a better person to take this position. So make sure you keep Lindell in mind and keep her in line also. But thank you so much for the work that you've done, and thank you, Gary, for choosing him. That's it.
Here, here.
I'll say, Mayor, I think that Mr. Woods is an excellent pick for the ZBA. I feel like he's had more than his fair share of dealings with zoning and land use, and he'll be a good addition.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I also echo Councilman Bowman's sentiments on Mr. Morgan. Outstanding. Please be in prayer for Mr. Adams as he buried his stepfather on today and could not be here. And Miss Nelson, that's my classmate. I am so excited for her for this opportunity. I think that she's going to do an amazing job. Just all of these appointments here are just worthy, and thank you for your service to the city of Shreveport. It's definitely to be commended.
Anyone else? Also, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you, and Javas, again, thank you for doing such a great job, and keep up the good work. That beard is standing out.
Even though Jarvis gave me a hard time when he first came on, and he said I couldn't see things out of his eyes in the way he wanted it done, but I finally, we got on the same page, and I appreciate you even more for that. That helped me to see.
He was right.
He was right. He was right. He was right.
Thank you. And just before we vote, we added 2 Jacoby Marshall, Bernie Woods, so that we will have the record clear. Anyone have any comments on that addition? Anyone? Seeing there's none, all in favor, let's vote.
That motion carries, Mr. Six. Congratulations to you all.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, there are no items on the consent agenda for introduction or to be adopted. Madam Clerk, would you proceed with regular agenda legislation?
Resolution 132, authorizing the mayor to execute an option to ground lease between the city of Shreveport and Shreveport HP Allendale LLC.
I make a motion to withdraw this from the agenda.
Motion by Councilwoman Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Fuller, that we withdraw this. Any questions?
I'm
Not
gonna
all
go
in-
over and pick this up at another time. So I'm just gonna withdraw this at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 165, approving a restoration tax abatement renewal application for Renew Solutions LLC, 601 Milam Street.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilwoman Taylor to postpone. Any questions? If not, let's vote.
Taylor,
I voted.
can you vote again, please? Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 24, authorizing the employment of legal counsel to represent the city of Shreveport, and there is one amendment. This amendment deletes and removes from the files the original proposed resolution number 24 of 2022 and substitutes the attached amendment number 1 to resolution number 24 of 2022. And this amendment now includes a retainer agreement and corrects typos in the fact sheet.
This item has been asked to be postponed by the city attorney.
Second.
Motion by the chair, second by Councilman Butcher, to be postponed. Any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 44, authorizing the mayor to execute an off-airport land lease between the city of Shreveport and the Federal Aviation Administration, and there is one amendment. This amendment deletes and removes from the files the original proposed fact sheet and resolution number 44 of 2022 and substitutes the attached revised fact sheet to resolution number 44 of 22 and enclosed statute into the resolution's exhibits. This amendment encloses one additional exhibit into the list of exhibits for this resolution, a copy of Louisiana Revised Statute 52, Section 1. This exhibit to the resolution is now labeled Exhibit F and is added to the listing of attachments in the attachment section of the revised fact sheet. There is no other change to the language or provisions of the fact sheet or resolution.
This item also has been asked to be postponed by the city attorney's office. Motion by the chair.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Fuller. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 46, to congratulate and celebrate Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Iota Zeta Chapter for their 60 years of dedicated service.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bowman, second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
That motion carries with 6, and the Zetas will be in attendance at the next council meeting, and we can read at that particular time.
Resolution 47, proclaiming April 11th through the 15th of 2022 to be National Community Development Week.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilwoman Fuller. Are there any questions?
I think there are a host of events that are going on this week with community development. They had a brunch on Monday, learning about housing and ways to acquire a home. And I think that you all need to check out some of these activities. Of course, we already know the great job that our community development department does. So if you have a chance, just take a look at the roster and stop in for a minute. You have something at Airport Park, right? You have
Yes.
something at Airport Park Thursday. That's it.
All in favor, let us vote.
And that motion carries with 6.
Resolution 48, to commend the AmeriCorps Senior Southern University at Shreveport Caddo Bossier DeSoto Foster Grandparent Volunteer Program, and to recognize May 5th, 2022 as AmeriCorps Senior Foster Grandparent Volunteer Day.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilman Bowman. Are there any questions?
Oh, I
Or-
wish I could have co-signed on that one. I love the foster grandparent program.
Well, we'll just put you
Put
on
you
there
on.
right
We'll just
now.
put you on
You
there.
on there.
Put you on.
All right. Put in the record.
Second by Councilwoman Fuller.
Any other questions or comments? Not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 49, calling upon the federal government to urgently address the student loan crisis and enact a plan to cancel student loan debt and begin the transition to education as a public good.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilman Bowman. Are there any questions?
It's just a request to
comment?
go over and help cancel this debt, this student loan debt that is enormous, that's just hurting a lot of individuals for going into some of the student loan debt is enormous, and so this is just to support this initiative of canceling this debt.
Thank you. Nothing else? Yes, ma'am.
I heard on the radio just a few minutes ago that New Mexico is trying to make a move to make education free
Free.
for everyone.
Mhm.
No matter how much money your parents make, for everyone to be able to go to college for free. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing else? Let's vote.
And that motion carries with 5.
Resolution 50, to support House Bill number 774, filed in the 2022 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature relative to expungements for certain amounts of possession of marijuana.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilman Nicholson. Are there any questions?
Representative Glover has a House Bill number 774 to help those that have the misdemeanor convictions of marijuana, certain forms of marijuana. And what we look at in this particular process is that those processing fees can be extremely high for some who are actually trying to get back on their feet. And so I have this resolution in support of what it is that he's trying to do in the legislature to help those get back on their feet and not hinder them in this way of that we know that marijuana has done for so many, as far as it comes to employment, housing, whatever the situation may be, and these are misdemeanor offenses. Help them clear their record at no cost.
Any other comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 51, to congratulate and celebrate Elizabeth Ellie Franks for being named Region 6 8th Grade Student of the Year in the state of Louisiana.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Nicholson, second by Councilman Bowman. Any questions? or comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 52, to thank President Biden for committing the United States to accepting 100,000 Ukrainian refugees and to convey the city of Shreveport's willingness to receive and warmly welcome those refugees.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Nicholson, second by Councilwoman Fuller. Are there any questions or
I
comments?
just want to say,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
several months ago, Councilman Nicholson and I were approached by activists that have been working with Haitian immigrants, and we were presented with sample legislation, but they asked us to hold off on it because of the immigration attorneys that they were working with out of New Orleans and across the state. They wanted our support like this, but then they decided just for us to pause on that for a minute to not muddy the waters. I'm saying that preemptory because when I first saw it, I was like, well, you know, I've seen people on social media ready to open their houses for Ukrainians, but they had everything ungodly to say about the Haitians that were coming through here. And it might not be our place to always get deep into world affairs, but we have world affairs and conflict happening really close to home. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman, about
Yes,
this?
sir. That's
Yeah,
right.
internally, we're having the same conversation. Again, make trips to DC, have relationships there, and this is gonna be officially worked out through the State Department. So as a city, we do need to have a posture on this, and my posture is exactly what you're saying. 100% want to be there for this, for the Ukrainian refugees, but we know for a fact that Haitian refugees and a lot of other nations have been devastated not just by war, but by natural disasters, you name it. And we need to be, I think our policy position needs to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could, if the council wants to work on this and we can come together and have something more formally on what I'm talking to the State Department about, I think that'll be good for the city.
I echo that too, Councilwoman Fuller and Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Same position.
Same. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll just say that, of course, I agree wholeheartedly that we should extend a welcoming hand to refugees from all backgrounds, as Councilwoman Fuller kindly acknowledged. When Haitian refugees some months ago frankly did not receive the warmest welcome from some members of our community, she and I worked together with lawyers and others seeking to help those refugees, and I was just as prepared to help them as I hope that the city will be to help refugees from the Ukraine. I will say briefly concerning the Ukrainian refugees, as we all know, that the Russian military under the leadership of Vladimir Putin has murdered thousands of innocent civilians, including women and children. As recently as 2 weeks ago, their military has bombed refugees at an evacuation center attempting to leave the theater of war. And within the past 72 hours, there have been credible reports from our own Pentagon that the Russian military has deployed chemical weapons against civilians. And I say all that to just to emphasize how important it is in a moment of crisis that our community express its willingness to do what we can to help those in a moment of great need. And so I appreciate your support of this legislation.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. This, I guess reading this resolution and looking at a lot of what's going on in the world today, I have really kind of checked myself as far as the homeless situation that we have here in our own back door. I just think we need to just also focus. I think this is not nothing against the resolution. I think this is great, but we need to, I need to focus more on trying to do what we can for those that are homeless here for whatever reason, and try to get them some help as well. So I appreciate this resolution too.
And that's not just lip service. You had a whole conversation with
No,
Ashley.
Ashley and I are on the same page right now, and
God
it's
is
a good
good.
thing. Yeah, surprisingly, yes.
I think it opens the door for that.
It does.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. If nothing else, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 53, to support the development of passenger rail service from Fort Worth, Texas through the city of Shreveport, Louisiana to Atlanta, Georgia along the I-20 corridor.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilwoman Fuller
Mr. Chair.
and Councilman Butcher. All in favor. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions or comments?
Good to know the Secretary of Transportation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
However, you have to build on those relationships to make it happen.
I will do that.
You got a lot of thank yous today, so I'm just, hey, I'm just,
Yeah, man,
you know,
something
that don't
going-
always happen, so I'm keeping score here. So,
Let me add 3 more. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And also, Mr. Mayor, encourage you to keep your connection with Parish Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Exactly.
If there are no other questions, let's vote.
that motion carries with 6.
Resolution 54, endorsing grant application submission to the U.S. Department of Transportation to secure funds from the 2022 discretionary grant funding.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions?
Hopefully moves like this will keep the people on the other side of the river from thinking they have a stake to claim it on any of this.
Working to keep things here.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 6.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you proceed with introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to April 26, 2022?
Mr. Chairman, the Department of Engineering has requested that Resolution 57 be removed from the agenda. If there's no objection, I cannot read that into the record so that it's not introduced.
Yes, ma'am.
Resolution 55, authorizing the execution of a retainer agreement with attorney Scott J. Chafin relative to certain consent decree matters. Resolution 56, authorizing the approval of a price change and entering a contract with Hallmark Corporation for the purchase of 18 25 cubic yard rear loaders Packers. Resolution 58, authorizing the city of Shreveport, Louisiana purchasing agent to reject all bids received for the flower bed maintenance Hollywood Monkhouse Elvis Presley Boulevard and Kennedy Broadway bid RFQ 22-509. Resolution 59, authorizing the city of Shreveport, Louisiana purchasing agent to reject all bids received for the replace roof on Lucas Administration Building bid RFQ 22-519. And Resolution 60, adopting the system survey and compliance questionnaire required by the Legislative Auditor's Office of the State of Louisiana.
Are there any questions on any of these items?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Joe Woodley is here to discuss Resolution 56. And we could take it up at that now if you guys want to, or we could do it at a later time. In the
Mr. Joe can come now.
Mr. Woodley?
Who was the motion and second on that?
I motion.
Councilwoman
Did you get a second?
Taylor, motion, and
I'll
second,
second it.
second by Councilman Butcher.
I think I'm really just here to answer any questions that anybody might have. This is the resolution is because there was a bid for the garbage trucks, 18 of them, and the supplier has had difficulties getting the chassis and the other parts. His costs have gone up, and he is basically asking us to increase the price of the contract that was awarded about 300 days ago. And the resolution is to allow for a change order of the original contract. There's also been another bid, which I think might be in your package, for the additional trucks, and they've come in quite a bit higher than even the price on this change order. So I don't know if there's any questions I can address for anybody or anything that needs to be set forth more before the council than what we've already got.
Mr. Woodley.
Yes, sir.
my concern is, and I talked to Mr. Latier about this today, and I've talked to Gary about it a couple of times this week. I mean, we need the trucks. There's no doubt about it. Our trucks are in disrepair. They're old. We need them. I'm afraid if we start the whole process, it's going to end up costing us more. But from a legal standpoint, I mean, I feel like that we have an agreement with them, and do they not have a responsibility to meet the agreement that they had? And I don't want us to overpay by what, $17,000-$18,000 per truck, and not be able to try to recoup that. If we take delivery of these trucks, pay them what they want, can we still go after them for damages or for failure to perform on the contract?
I believe that there would be an argument that we could make that under the law, we have a duty to mitigate our damages. And so, you know, authorizing the change order with the understanding that we're not waiving any rights that we have under our original contract should leave us an out. However, I can't guarantee you that, no, we would not, by entering the change order, we wouldn't lose that right to pursue them for damages. The question about pursuing them for damages, of course, is we could ask for damages, we could ask for specific performance. But I don't know if that would end up being a Pyrrhic victory or not, because, I mean, they can't get the chassis, they can't supply it. We can't force them with specific performance to produce for us a truck that they can't get for a certain period of time.
Well,
so I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know that anyone does.
Well, I mean, as a real estate broker for 20 years, I look at it as if I've got a house under contract, and while the house is under contract, the sewer system backs up and the seller has to put $12,000 worth of improvements to the sewer, and he goes back and says, I want to modify this contract by $12,000 because my sewage system backed up. That's kind of the way I see it. I mean, you sign a contract, that's the way, but I also see the need that we need these packers immediately and not have to wait, because we've been waiting a year. I would just strongly suggest, if we do this, that we definitely start looking at other places than this company, because I feel like it's kind of poor business in my opinion. But I think they've got our backs up against the wall, and I just don't want to lose the ability to be able to at least go after them to a certain extent to try to make them honor the contract, because I think they should.
Yes, sir, I understand, and in theory, we would continue to be able to pursue them, because, as I said, we could argue that all we're doing is trying to mitigate our damages.
Right.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken about these numbers, the new bid, also low bid by Holmac, was, I think, $90,000 more than the original bid. So, I mean, it's kind of we have a duty to, like I say, attempt to mitigate our damage, which is to buy trucks perhaps at a lower price if they're available to us.
Yes, sir.
But even, I think I'm correct about this, and I think at the next meeting the people from Holmac are going to be here, but the company is still, even with, if we did the change order, it would still be a extended period of time before we even get the 18 that we asked for originally. Now, the contract that we originally entered into, a purchase order, it said, you know, estimated delivery 200 days. So we didn't really have a firm delivery date even from the beginning. So it's theoretically, which is not going to happen, they could come now and say, oh, we'll honor that price. It'll just take us X number of days to get them. But I believe from our discussions with the Holmac people, their prices have gone up X, and they want to go up to us X minus some Y. So but of course, that we don't look at their books. We don't know whether those are accurate numbers or not.
It's actually gone up. I mean, yeah.
That's why they'll be here in 2 weeks to explain themselves.
Hopefully, they'll be able to provide you with more information about how they came up with their numbers and what their problems are. But part of our problem, I think, is that the public works people, they need the trucks.
Well, and if we don't buy these, we're gonna pay $90,000 more because the lowest bidder, if we have to go through the whole process. So I understand, but it's a messy situation.
It is.
I look forward to hearing what they have to say.
And it is a mess.
And we just wanted y'all to be aware of what's
It's a
going
trashy
on.
situation.
Yeah, it's
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Whitley, do you agree that the city approving the change order that Holmack has requested would go against the spirit of public bid law? Is that
I
a fair
believe so,
assessment?
yes, sir. It definitely would. What I learned in my research was that there's a section for public works, which are construction works, which I believe is 2212. These works come under 2212.1. In 2212, there's a specific provision that says no change order above X amount of dollars, 250,000, I believe. No change order above that amount, you can't do it. It has to go out to public bid. There's no such restriction as far as materials and all that. But nonetheless, I agree with you. It does go against what you would ordinarily believe is the spirit of the public bid law, which is to give everybody to bid it out and let everybody see what they do. I will point out to you, though, Mr. Nicholson, that first of all, we have the price increase, so we know what that is supposed to be. Second of all, we did fortuitously had just rebid more trucks, and the lowest bidder was again Holmack, and they were $90,000 higher than where they were on their first bid. So, although I do agree with you that it violates the spirit, at least, of the public bid law, it also is a lower price than our most recent bid.
Is it correct that public bid law is mandatory on municipalities and their principals?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but it's not something we can choose to disregard for reasons of convenience or even need.
No, sir, cannot.
Okay, and is it also true that public bid law imposes personal liability on council members and other elected officials who disregard public bid law?
Well, what the bid law says is that the court may, is optional, obviously. It's not a shall, it's a may, but yes, it does. The court may impose a personal liability on, I think the wording of it is against each offending member of the governing authority who authorized the violation.
Well, we'll have more discussion in the next 2 weeks, I'm sure, but I will say that as a member, no matter how urgent the need of the Public Works Department, if I come to a conclusion that that a proposed course of action violates state law, I can't authorize it.
Oh, yes, sir.
Generally, the council's not asked to authorize change orders at all for materials, so the fact that this is presented to us with an admonition that the course of action proposed may violate public bid law concerns me. I think we all need to have further conversations, perhaps in a privileged context, about what to do about this situation.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, John. You made it even trashier.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't, it just messes us up all the way around, I think. It messes the citizens of Shreveport up all the way around. I think that's the biggest piece of it. In one state, I want to sit there and say, well, we have to do what we need to do to take care of the city's business, and then at the same time, I don't know, I'm stuck in the rabbit hole on this one. So it's just bad business, I think. Bad business.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Madam Clerk, would you proceed with the introduction of ordinance not to be adopted prior to April 26, 2022?
Ordinance 47, amending the 2022 budget for the Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance 48, amending the 2022 budget for the Street Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 49, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2022 Street Special Revenue Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance 50, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2022 Capital Projects Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance 51, levying and authorizing the collection of a tax of 11.3180 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport, Louisiana for the year 2022 for the purpose of paying principal and interest on the outstanding general obligation bonds of the city of Shreveport. Ordinance 52, levying and authorizing the collection of various taxes totaling 17.770 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport, Louisiana for the year 2022 in the amounts and for the purposes described herein. Ordinance 53, levying and authorizing the collection of a tax of 9.040 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation in the bounds of the Downtown Development District of the city of Shreveport, Louisiana, as defined by LARS 332740.38 for the year 2022, and the amounts for the purposes described herein. Ordinance 54, to amend Chapter 46, Medical Services, Section 102, Application Procedure 5, Vehicle Compliance of the Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances.
Are there any questions and comments on any of these items before we make the motion? Is there a motion to introduce these ordinances?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Bowman.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Taylor. Madam Clerk, will you proceed with ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Ordinance 37, an ordinance to create and establish the intersection of Fern Loop and Fern Circle as a stop intersection.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Nicholson, second by Councilman Butcher. Are there any questions? All in favor, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 39, amending the 2022 budget for the general fund.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by the chair, second by Councilman Bowman. Are there any questions? Not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 40, amending the 2022 budget for the capital projects fund.
Moved by the chair.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowman. Any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 41, amending the 2022 budget for the street special revenue fund.
Moved by the chair.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowman. Any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 42, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2022 Capital Projects Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilman Bowman. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 43, amending the 2022 Airport Capital Improvements Fund budget.
Moved by the chair.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowman. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 44, to amend Chapter 38, Article 2, Division 4, Section 31 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to the procedure for the abatement of inoperable vehicle violations.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilman Butcher. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 45, to amend Section 38.5-6 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to the procedure for the issuance of summons to the Environmental Court.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Taylor, second by
everybody.
everybody. Starting with Councilman Bowman.
You did a good job, David.
If no other questions, let's vote.
I think we agree on this one.
See y'all at cheerleading
I
trials.
don't think so. I don't think we agree.
That motion carries with 6.
Ordinance 46 to amend section 90-124 of chapter 90 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to certain types of trucks being prohibited on certain streets.
Will it postpone?
Motion by Councilwoman Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Fuller to postpone. Are there any questions? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there any table legislation to be removed from the table today?
I believe Councilwoman Fuller would like to remove ordinance 72 from the table.
That's correct. So a motion to remove that from the table, back to the agenda. Do I need to say anything about the amendments now, or can we do that?
Are you wanting to take it up, remove it for the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
You could just do that. We don't have to mention the amendments right now.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilman
which one is
Bowman.
A&E committee, this now has the amendments from the administration, so we're all just happy about it.
And the motion is
To remove from the table.
Move
so
from
we
the
can-
table by,
Back
motion
to the
by
agenda.
Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilman Bowman, that this item be removed from the table. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6.
This item has been removed. We have no property standards or MPC, ZBA, ABO appeals considered today. Are there any other appeals, Madam Clerk?
There are none.
Are there any reports from officers, boards, and committees? Madam Clerk, is there a clerk report?
I do not have one.
Mayor Perkins, do you have any additional communications?
I just want to once again thank our communications officers down at the Caddo 911 Center. This week is National Public Safety Communications Week. So all the operators that actually respond to emergencies when you call 911, this week is recognizing their efforts. I forget, I think maybe Chief Smith put it first, or Chief Lane. They said they're the true first responders. They're the first ones that get the call, and they got to provide that calm in very chaotic situations before the actual police and firemen show up to the scene. So I just want to thank them once again, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Tell them who won the contest.
What's that?
Tell them who won the contest.
Oh, yeah. Chief Smith beat me in the cookie stacking contest. It was my first time, and Chief Smith is always real good with food, so I kind of knew I was going to lose.
How you eat you eat the Oreos and win the contest?
Yeah, and he was eating Oreos while stacking cookies, so he was impressive. Yeah.
It is a very important week. National Telecommunicator Week is a big deal. As a former 911 board member and a former dispatcher myself, or communications officer myself for about five or 6 years, they really are the first people you talk to in an emergency, and it's we have a very well trained and probably one of the best communication centers in the state. So congratulations to them, and prayers to all of them and their families. Mr. Chairman, one quick thing. In front of the city court building and the police station over there, there's a bunch of dead bushes. Can we get Shelley and them over there to dig those up and maybe plant some more or something? But it just looks like a desert over there. So if y'all don't mind looking into that for me. If Shelley were here, I would have asked her, but I don't see her.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Does any councilman have any additional comments? Councilwoman Taylor?
I'd like for everybody to prepare for inclement weather that we're expecting, tornadoes, hail. I think everybody is on standby everywhere with the administration as well as Public Works. So you just need to make sure that you secure your properties and take heed to what the weather reports are saying. I think they're looking more for it in the morning. Am I wrong, Chief? Was when it's supposed to enter here. And so if you've paid attention to what's going on in Arkansas, then you can see that it's not something to be played with. I bid everybody a happy Easter. Pray that you all are safe and that you enjoy your days off. And again, y'all be safe.
Any other member of the council have any communications? Executive sessions, there are none. If there's nothing else to come before this body, we adjourn.